Hi, I'm Rashonda. I'm the creator of this YouTube channel, as well as the artbyrow.com website, where you can find over 250 art and drawing tutorials. So be sure to check that out, but of course, watch the video first. In today's tutorial, I'm going to be drawing some really easy cityscape designs. These are great for artist trading cards, and they're perfect for the beginner artist. They're lots of fun, they're a great practice for using color and just laying out your designs. So let's go ahead and go on over to the art studio and get started on that lesson. In today's tutorial, I'm going to be drawing these really easy cityscape drawings. They're a lot of fun to make, they're great for beginners. So all we are going to do is draw several buildings and overlap them so that it looks like there's a city going on there. Now you can make these squared off, you can make them more stylized and curved, which will make it look a little bit more interesting. You can experiment with trying different styles, different shapes for your buildings. I love drawings that are really simple but have the ability to add a lot of variation with them. So this is one of those types of drawings that if you don't have the best drawing skills, you can still make a series of drawings and you can play around with different styles and different colors and shapes for your building, and you don't have to know how to draw per se. It'll help you learn to do some overlapping. It'll help you learn control of your pencil, so you'll still get a lot of skill building out of it. But you could do this at a very beginner level. So this line I don't want right up next to this edge. So I'm going to move it over just a little bit. I have that come across up here. So you can make them different heights, different sizes. You can make some wider, some more narrow. It's mostly random, but somewhat deliberate. Like I said, I don't want this building and this building to end on that same line. And then a building there. So this building, or this cityscape, has space between the buildings. I want to show you another way you can do it. You can, and I'll show you some different, a little bit different shapes as well. You can do it where there's no space in between. I want to show you what that looks like. And it's typically what you want to do. It's easier to start with the buildings at the front. We can make them so they're not completely even. We can have a little tower coming up, or if you want to make smokestacks on there, you can do that. Have another building there, and you can have them going off the edge of the paper too. Don't be afraid to draw your buildings going off the edge of the paper. And then here we'll have one coming off this side. What I want to show you with this one is I'm going to fill it completely solid with buildings and no spaces between, where in this one you'll see the background or the sky in between. This one you will not. This is going to be just all buildings until we get up into the sky area. And you can kind of tuck them in and out behind each other however you want. We have another one here. And then we'll put one more. We'll angle that one. So we have a couple different drawings here. One that has some spaces in between and one that's a little bit tighter, filled in a bit more. So now the next step is going to be to add an outline to this with a black pen. So let's go ahead and do that next. You can use a pen or a marker. I prefer to use a pen. This is just a black outlining pen. And then all you need to do is just go right over top of your pencil lines with your pen or your marker, whatever you're choosing to use. And I'm going to go over mine a couple times because I want this to have a nice bold outline on it. So I will go ahead and work on this. I'm going to speed it up because there's not much to say about this. I'm literally just tracing over the pencil lines. So I will speed this up and I'll be back when it's done. So I finished doing the outline and I used a big block eraser to clean up the pencil lines. This just happens to be what I have. You could also use one of those pink erasers. Doesn't really matter. You just want a bigger eraser that you can go over the whole thing and clean up all those pencil lines so that now we can go in and add some color. So I'm going to be using markers, and I like to do a gradation of color on my buildings. So I'll show you what that looks like. So what I'll do is start with the darkest color at the top, and I'm going to be using all greens, and then I will do one that's a little bit lighter. Now ideally, I like this line here to be really smooth and seamless. Sometimes you can do that, sometimes you can't. It just depends on the selection of markers you have available. So you might have to go over it a few times and try to blend it in. If it won't blend, then you might have to just let it be a little bit harsher of a line. It might not be as smooth as you'd like it to be. You could also use a yellow down here if you wanted to. And then I'll just keep doing that for each of the colors. You can start at the bottom and do the lightest one and work backwards. And then do the next darkest, and so on. Now when you do these, they don't have to match up exactly. Like you don't have to worry about this color ending the same in the same place as the buildings next to it. You could do that if you wanted to, if you wanted them all to line up. You could try that out, see what that would look like. Now, if you do the colors in this order where you're going lightest to darkest, then you need to come back over top of where they meet with the whatever that next lightest color is and blend that. So for this particular drawing, or this type of drawing, it's probably easiest to work dark to light. since we're just filling in these solid blocks. Oftentimes when I'm doing other types of drawings, I will typically work light to dark so that I can see what everything looks like and I can adjust as I go. But since this is just filling in colors, it would probably be easier to just work dark to light. And as you can see, this one I'm showing you what it would look like if the colors don't line up. So this one I have more of it is dark and a little less fading into light at the bottom. So you can vary it, or you could have them lined up if you want. The only thing with that, excuse me, would be that at the bottom, these wouldn't have any of the darker colors. They would be light, which might look okay. You can always try things out and see what it looks like. Now, as you notice, I'm working in one building at a time, and that is to make sure that my alcohol in the marker doesn't dry out before I'm done blending those colors. Once that dries out, you're not going to be able to blend them the same way. So you do need to work in smaller sections so that the alcohol's not evaporated, and that the paper, it'll actually absorb into the paper and your paper will be damp. And that's what you want when you're blending those colors together. It helps them blend more smoothly. So I'm working in small sections at a time, which in this case is just each individual building. And I am working on an artist trading card, so it's a smaller scale drawing to begin with. I do a lot of my work on artist trading cards. If you're not familiar with what those are, check out the description box, and there's a free beginner's guide to artist trading cards in there. And as the name states, they are meant for trading, but what I like about them is they're a really nice time saver because of being smaller, and you can put them in a portfolio, in sleeves and a binder, and have yourself a nice little portfolio that you can look through, and instead of having stacks of drawings everywhere. I have a 3-ring binder that has a bunch of sleeves in it, and I just put my drawings right in there, and I can go back through and look at them and see how my style has changed over the years, or my different moods that I've been in, and how it affected my artwork and the different types of things I've tried over the years. So it's kind of fun to go back in and look at them, and then eventually I'll end up trading them with other artists for their cards, which is a lot of fun to do. So we're just going to finish these up. And then I am going to do this other card as well. This one I'll do a different set of colors and show you what that looks like when there isn't those spacing in between. So we'll do a couple different variations of this. It's a really good exercise to do the same drawing multiple times. I like doing a series of 7. I'll do one a day, which is easy to do when you're doing them on the smaller scale like the artist trading cards. And if I do 7 of them over 7 days, and each one I try to think of something different I can do. Whether it's a little bit different style, different colors. You could try a different medium. something to experiment, push yourself a little bit, get out of your comfort zone. So just finish this one up. And then for the background, I'm going to do the same thing, but with blue markers. And you could do this other colors. You could do a sunset or a sunrise. I'm doing kind of a nighttime sky. And I'm going to do the same exact thing. I'll start with the darkest color, which is going to be a real deep blue. Now again, you might run into the same problem as with the green, in that if you don't have a lot of different markers to choose from, then you might not get as seamless of a line as what you might want. And that's just part of using markers. If you have the perfect markers, all the right colors for what you're trying to do, it's great. And if not, then you just have to settle a little bit for what you do have. You might be missing just that one perfect color that blends two colors together. So if your lines aren't blending quite the way you want, it could be something as simple as just not having the right colors to use. And unless you have a lot of markers, it's hard to get those perfect colors. So when you go over top and blend it, it'll help smooth it out a little bit. But if these colors are too different from each other, you're still going to be able to see it. You can go over it a couple times, see if you can smooth it out a little bit. So as I do this, it's finishing up the background for the color. And then what we can do is add some stars back there, give it a little bit more detail. Then we'll finish up with a little bit lighter blue. This is kind of a grayish color. So what I do to choose my colors is I have a little scrap piece of paper that is actually left over from when I cut out my artist trading cards. This is done on cardstock. And there's little scraps left over, and I test them out on that first, so I can see how those colors are gonna blend. That's not too bad. Now you can play around with how much you have the dark, how much is light. You can change, you could do it all dark, you could do it just a solid color if you wanted. And you could play around with it being one color, different colors, more dark at the top, more light. You could do purples, you could do oranges, a lot of different ways you can do this. So the last thing to finish this one up, what I want to do is use a white jelly roll pen, and I'm going to add some lights, some windows to this. And I'm not being super intentional. Like, I can skip some. You don't want to stress out about adding windows in here. You want to keep your drawings fun and relaxing and not worrying too much about things. You can keep your windows even. You can change it up so it looks like some lights are on, some lights are off. So I'm going to do that for each of these buildings. And I will speed that up, and I'll show you real quick for the sky, for the background. I'm just going to put some different size dots in here and make it look like a night sky. Make sure you vary the dots. You don't want to just, some people just do that and it looks a little too uniform. So you want some to be brighter, some to be duller. So be a little bit intentional with how you do your stars. So I'm going to go ahead and do these windows, and I'm going to add some color to that other card to show you what that looks like when it's finished. And I'll be back when those things are done. So here are the finished cards. A couple different styles, similar but a little bit different. So I want to show you just how you can have some variation. You could do different colors for the sky. You could do the buildings black and have them more like a silhouette. So there's a lot of different ways you can draw these. Here's a couple ways. Hopefully this gives you some ideas and you feel inspired to do your own. And that is it for today's video. I will see you next time. Happy creating! Well, that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully you feel inspired to do some of your own artwork. If you did enjoy the video, please hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe if you want to get notified of future videos. And before you take off, check out that description box. There's a free guide in there for using artist trading cards if you want more information about that. And I will see you in the next video. Bye!